Tottenham sack big Ange Postecoglou. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Today's video is going to centre around the big breaking news of last night, which was that Tottenham have officially parted ways with Ange Postecoglou. Yes, after an absolute disastrous season domestically, after saving it with seemingly doing the impossible in winning Tottenham a trophy in the form of the Europa League, it seemingly wasn't enough for the big Aussie manager to save his job at Spurs after it was officially announced yesterday from the club that they have parted ways with their manager. He has been sacked, he has been fired, and that there will be no season 3 for big Ange Postecoglou. And yet, the silver lining for him is that he will get a pretty nice compensation fee, as reported by certain media outlets, that Daniel Levy has been forced to pay out due to his sacking and his firing. We're going to be talking about where both Postecoglou and Tottenham go from this point forward, as well as the overall conversation itself. But before we go into all of that and much more, I would like to remind you all, please like the video and also subscribe if you are new. Both things will always and forever be greatly appreciated. And of course, I encourage you all to get involved in the comment section down below. Let me know your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, on this big topic of discussion. I'm sure what you have to say and wait for great interest in reading. So please do get involved. Use and abuse that section, people. And without further ado, we're going to get on with the conversation ourselves. We're talking Tottenham, we're talking Ange Postecoglou, and where both of them go from this point forward. Look, I have to say this right off the bat. I think this was the right decision by Spurs. I know it's easy to say this maybe from the outside looking in, but I genuinely do believe that this was the right decision by Spurs to act like a big club. I don't think even doing seemingly the impossible and winning Tottenham a trophy was enough to outweigh what has been a disastrous season overall for Spurs domestically, in terms of a league position that has been their worst ever. 22 losses in the Premier League, getting knocked out of both domestic cups in poor fashion. I don't think that could have been outweighed in any way, shape or form, even if he seemingly did the impossible of winning a Europa League. The only part I'm surprised at, really, is that Tottenham actually made this step. I genuinely did have an inkling that Tottenham would actually keep him on as manager. I did think that maybe winning the Europa League probably guaranteed him at least another year as the head coach of Tottenham Hotspur. I did think that they would go with a kind of sympathy kind of thing on that. But turns out, not even that could have saved his job. And Daniel Levy and Tottenham, seemingly on the board, agreed that he deserves to go. And I think that that was probably the right call. Like I say, for me, it seemed inevitable. I know that he did do the seemingly the impossible, and if there is a footballing hall of fame out there, he deserves to be in it. Not just for his quote that he always wins something in season 2 of being in charge of any football club, but just for doing what the likes of Antonio Conte and Jose Mourinho couldn't, which was win a trophy at Tottenham. Win Tottenham's first trophy in 17 years. In what was an incredible achievement. It was a terrible final, but they won't care. They will just remember the memories of actually winning silverware. So fair play to Tottenham for that. Fair play to Ange for actually backing himself and delivering on his word and on his promise. It's one of the coldest quotes now in the history of football, up there with the likes of "I am the special one" from Jose Mourinho. An incredible achievement that ultimately could never outweigh what has been a disastrous season from Spurs. The domestic form was absolutely abysmal. And I'm not buying into this whole injuries angle that seemingly plagued Tottenham a lot this season. I'm not buying into this whole they were putting all their eggs in the Europa League basket halfway through the campaign. I genuinely believe that there was two different sides of Postecoglou. We saw the side of him in the Premier League, in which he was stubborn, in which he was constantly rattled all the time, in which he was unwilling to adapt and be flexible to the Premier League. And then we saw the other side of him in the Europa League, where he was actually willing to adapt actually willing to change his style of play, and that's obviously what helped Spurs get across the finish line in terms of getting past these teams that a lot of people said that they wouldn't get past, the likes of Frankfurt, the likes of Bodo Glimt, especially away from home, and of course Man United in the final, where a lot of people said that even though United are in the mud themselves, they probably still will win because they turn up in these kinds of big moments. Spurs managed to overcome everybody's predictions in that regard and actually go on and win the silverware themselves. But we definitely did see two versions of Ange Postecoglou throughout the entire course of this season alone. But for me, it was never going to work out. The stubbornness, the lack of flexibility, the lack of adaptability. I said this time and time again this past season that this was never going to work out on that regard. It was also never going to work out in terms of the restrictions that Tottenham put on Spurs, especially in transfer windows. He was never going to get what he needed. He was never going to get what he wanted. He is basically a plan A type of manager. I need plan A. Plan B and Plan C are completely different to what Plan A needs. At another club that is well run, maybe Plan B and Plan C are very similar to Plan A, but at Tottenham, Plan B and Plan C are different to what Plan A is. And he doesn't need that. He needs Plan A at Spurs. If he went to another club that will give him whatever he wants, I'm sure he'll be successful. And let's face it, if he was to go, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. If he was to go to anywhere in world football, I think he's going to be fine because he's going to be punching upwards. He's probably going to get the players that he wants and that he desires. And they're probably going to give him whatever they want to succeed. And let's face it, after doing this incredible achievement with Spurs, I'm sure he is going to be fine in whatever next move he takes in his next managerial career and journey, right? He probably will get a statue as well outside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for winning the trophy. It's not the realms of possibility for Spurs to do that for him. I know that it would probably mean Daniel Levy has to dip into his pocket a little bit, and we know how much he doesn't like to do that. So, you know, maybe he might not get a statue, might be a bit more on the expensive side, but maybe he'll get some sort of plaque, or maybe he'll get a seat in the stadium dedicated to him or something. You know, typical Daniel Levy penny pinching mode. But like I say, for Ange himself, I'm sure wherever he goes in his next step, he will be fine. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the players. Will there be a hatred towards the club? Did Ange really lose the dressing room, or did the Europa League kind of turn it around for him? A lot of people said that maybe the players are down tools for Ange towards the end of the season. Didn't seem like it was a squad of players that are down tools for Ange, especially when they won the Europa League. So it's going to be interesting to see if there's going to be any hatred towards the club, whether or not there's going to be players demanding their release from the club, maybe a transfer away from the club. It's going to be interesting to see what the aftermath of this has on those players in particular. And of course, for the supporters themselves as well. They seem torn as well. There seems to be a whole mix of emotions from the supporters. Some say it was the right move, but at the end of the day, he did deliver them a trophy, so there's mixed emotions there. Some say that this was the right move regardless. Some saying that maybe, in hindsight, maybe he did deserve one more year for winning them a trophy. So there's a whole range of mixed emotions from the supporters, as I'm sure there is probably from the players themselves. But he has gone. They are now beginning their search for a new manager, the club, and it seems as though they already have a front runner for the job. There have been a number of names that have been thrown around, but one that is seemingly the leading candidate is Thomas Frank, the current manager, of course, of Brentford. This may not exactly be the most exciting of appointments for Tottenham, but it is certainly one that they need. This may not exactly overwhelm them, but it is certainly a managerial appointment that is in my opinion, smart. In my opinion, Premier League proven. And one that they probably need to steady things going forward. Like I say, he may not be the most exciting or bright, shiny name that's on there, but you know what? He's done a fantastic job at Brentford in taking them to the Premier League and, of course, keeping them afloat. And let's face it, I think with Spurs right now, he is exactly what they need in terms of a realistic choice that is versatile, that is flexible, that can adapt, that can get the best out of these players that you currently have within your squad and more. And of course, more importantly than that, probably can work within the financial guidelines that the club set out, the financial restrictions that the club set out. We've already seen him work on a budget with Brentford. He seems to be more capable of working within the guidelines that Tottenham set out than what Ange would. I think this is a very good opportunity and a very good choice for him. A lot of Tottenham fans seemingly pointing the finger at the likes of Xavi and Inzaghi. I know Inzaghi's obviously going to Saudi Arabia, so that ship may have sailed right now, but a lot of people are saying Xavi. Why would Xavi want to go to Tottenham? It makes no sense. It seems very unrealistic. And again, it's not what they need. They don't need a manager who is basically going to come in, be sold on all of these crazy, weird promises that the club ultimately are not going to deliver on, because it's going to end in a very toxic way. It's going to end in a very toxic way. At least if you have someone of an underdog that can punch upwards rather than punch downwards, I think Spurs are going to be okay. And Thomas Frank is exactly that underdog. He is exactly that underdog, in my opinion, that is going to be the one to punch upwards for Spurs and maybe deliver more than what maybe they over deliver, shall we say? Maybe they over deliver and they undersell and over deliver. He just seems like a very good fit for me. He really, really does. Whether it's a good move for Thomas Frank or not, obviously that's up for debate. Maybe like Brentford, maybe it would be better staying off at Brentford. In all honesty, especially considering how things have gone for previous Tottenham managers. But it may be that a lot of Spurs fans may not give this guy an opportunity or the next guy an opportunity. Maybe they are against the club in general. It's going to be very interesting to see the knock-on effect that this sacking has on the club and on the fan base. But for me, I wouldn't completely dismiss the Thomas Frank situation if that is to obviously materialise. I do think he is exactly what Spurs need. I do think that Spurs need to identify who they are and what they are in terms of a club that are going to be competing for the for the European places. And that's pretty much it, until you obviously show a lot more ambition, until you obviously show that you can compete financially with the bigger clubs and morph yourself into a bigger club with bigger mentality, with all of that kind of stuff going on with it, then we'll obviously have to discuss more about the identity of Tottenham. But for right now, the identity of Tottenham is that you are competing for European places. Thomas Frank is someone who can undersell but over-deliver. And I think that's exactly what you need right now. Someone who's adaptable, flexible, versatile, works within a budget and can get more out of these players than you could possibly imagine. I think he would be a good appointment. But we'll wait and see, obviously, what happens with Spurs and the next steps going forward. The big news is that Ange Postecoglou has been sacked, and then the search for a new manager is underway. Guys, let me know what you are thinking in the comment section. These are, of course, your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys are thinking and feeling, so please do get involved in that comment section down below. Use and abuse that section, people, at your will. I'm sure what you have to say might have got an interest in reading. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you are new. Both things will always and forever be greatly appreciated. And of course, I encourage you all, like I say, to get involved and to do all of that kind of stuff and much more. It'll always be greatly appreciated from me. Thank you all for your continued or brand new support to the channel. It really, really, really does mean a lot. You guys are absolutely awesome. I cannot thank you enough for the support that the channel receives. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Otherwise, thanks everyone for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video, and I'll soon speak to you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll speak to you all again very, very soon.